The sacred solitude. Why awakening demands distance? Have you ever noticed that the ones who seem most at peace, most deeply rooted in truth, often live quietly on the edges of society? They're not the loudest voices in the room. They're not the ones chasing praise or recognition. In fact, they often seem to vanish from the world's spotlight altogether. It's not because they've failed at life. It's because they've seen something most people haven't. They've seen through the illusions that keep the world spinning. The obsession with image, the addiction to distraction, the desperate need to be liked, followed, and admired. When you start waking up spiritually, you begin to feel an invisible wall growing between you and the life you once knew. You can still be in the world, but you're no longer of it. And that separation, that sacred distance, is not punishment. It's protection for your soul, your clarity, and your peace. To awaken spiritually is to dissolve the false self, the one built from culture, from fear, from childhood wounds, from the need to be someone. The moment you pull back the curtain and see that the identity you've spent your whole life defending is a story, just a collection of thoughts, roles, and reactions, you begin to experience what Alan Watts called the Great Unknowing. You no longer take yourself so seriously. And that's terrifying to the parts of you that thrived on approval and external validation. You see, society depends on people believing they are their roles, that they are their job title, their political stance, their group identity, their past. But when you realize you are none of those things, you become hard to control. And when you're hard to control, you're often misunderstood. Not because you're broken, but because you're free. And freedom, to the asleep, looks a lot like rebellion or even madness. This is why the spiritually awake tend to step back from the crowd, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. They no longer find nourishment in surface-level conversation, in gossip, in performance. They crave depth, silence, realness. And those things are rare in a world designed to keep you distracted. They don't isolate themselves because they hate people. On the contrary, they feel more connected to humanity than ever. But connection doesn't mean proximity, it means resonance. And when you no longer resonate with the noise of the world, you start seeking the quiet. You start listening to the spaces between words, to the truth behind appearances. You begin to value solitude not as a punishment, but as a sacred retreat, a place where your soul can breathe again.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But let's not romanticize this too quickly. The path of awakening is not easy. It's not glamorous. It's not filled with instant peace and Instagram-worthy sunsets. It's filled with grief. You grieve the version of yourself you once believed in. You grieve the relationships that no longer align with your truth. You grieve the idea that you could ever fully belong in a world that rewards conformity over consciousness. And yet, in that grieving, something beautiful is born, a kind of inner stillness, a presence that doesn't depend on circumstances to feel whole. You begin to realize that solitude is not the absence of connection, but the presence of something deeper, authenticity. When you no longer need others to validate your existence, you finally meet yourself. Here's the paradox. The more awake you become, the more love you feel for everything. For the trees, the sky, the stranger in traffic. But this love is not possessive. It doesn't try to cling or control. It simply is. And because it doesn't cling, it often doesn't fit into the traditional boxes we've created for relationships and belonging. The spiritually awake often stay alone because they no longer seek connection out of lack. They don't need someone else to complete them. And that makes their presence both deeply peaceful and deeply unsettling to those who are still searching outside themselves. People may say, "You've changed," and they're right. You're no longer playing the game. You're no longer wearing the mask. You become something society doesn't quite know what to do with, whole. So ask yourself this: if no one ever understood you again, would you still walk your truth? If the world called you crazy, irrelevant, or invisible, would you still trust your path? These are not just philosophical questions, they are the very heart of awakening. Because to awaken is to choose truth over comfort. stillness over stimulation, solitude over superficiality. And in that choice, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing the silence. You stop running from yourself. You stop needing the world to reflect you back to you. And when that happens, even if you're walking alone, you're never truly alone. You're walking with life itself. The price of seeing clearly why truth pushes us to the edge of the world. When you begin to see clearly, truly, painfully, beautifully clearly, something irreversible happens. You can't go back. You can't unsee the illusions, the self-deceptions, the unconscious games we play to feel safe and accepted. Truth has a way of burning through your life like fire. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't politely knock. It tears down the walls you built to protect your ego. And in their place, it offers you something terrifying but sacred: freedom. But freedom is not always pleasant. In fact, it's often excruciating because it forces you to confront everything you've avoided: your fears, your falsehoods, your attachments. And this is why the spiritually awake are often pushed to the margins of society. Not because they chose to be outsiders, but because truth made them incompatible with the world everyone else is still pretending is real. You see, most people are operating within a shared dream. A dream where status matters, where reputation is currency, where truth is negotiable as long as the lie feels good. But when you wake up, you start to feel like an alien in your own life. The conversations feel hollow. The goals feel empty. The rituals feel mechanical. You try to explain what you're seeing, but words fail. How do you describe light to someone who has only ever known shadows? How do you speak of presence, of awareness, of the death of the ego, to someone still clinging to their social mask like it's their lifeline? You can't. And so you go quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because you realize most people aren't ready to hear. And in that silence, you find a strange kind of peace, a painful peace, a lonely liberation. But let's not mistake this silence for superiority. The spiritually awake are not above others. They don't see themselves as better. In fact, they often feel more humility than ever before, because the deeper the awakening, the more you realize how little you truly control. How much of your life was shaped by unconscious patterns, by karma, by conditioning. You stop blaming others, but you also stop blaming yourself. You begin to see that everyone is doing the best they can with the level of awareness they have. And that realization is both heartbreaking and healing. You feel compassion for those still trapped in the dream. But you also know you can't re-enter it just to feel less alone. That would be a betrayal of your soul, so you stay on the edge, watching, loving, waiting for those few who are also beginning to stir. And yes, there are moments of deep longing, longing to be understood, to be met, to be seen, not for your personality or your opinions, but for your being. But those moments become less frequent as your center deepens. You start to realize that your true self doesn't need to be seen by anyone else. It sees itself, and that is enough. You begin to draw strength from the silence, from the trees, from the sky, from the breath. You start to feel the divine in everything, not as an idea, but as a felt experience. And that shifts everything. You no longer look for love outside of yourself. You are love. You no longer seek fulfillment in the future. You are fulfillment. And when you live from that place, relationships become a bonus, not a necessity. You can enjoy others without needing them to complete you. Alan Watts once said, "You are the universe experiencing itself." And when you begin to live from that awareness, the loneliness of the ego dissolves. You're not alone because you've been abandoned. You're alone because you've returned to your source. You've stopped outsourcing your worth. You've stopped begging for crumbs of validation. You've stopped constructing a self based on other people's expectations. And in doing so, you've stepped into the most radical act of rebellion in a world addicted to conformity. You've become real. And realness has a cost. It often means walking away from people, places, and patterns that once felt like home. But what is the point of staying in a home built on lies? What is the point of being surrounded by people if you can't be yourself around them? So let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you stopped pretending? If you stopped smiling when you didn't feel joy? If you stopped agreeing just to keep the peace? If you stopped hiding your truth just to be accepted, would you lose people? Probably. Would you feel afraid? Definitely. But would you finally feel alive? Absolutely. Because authenticity is the soil in which awakening takes root. And when the roots go deep enough, you no longer need the world to validate your truth. You become the truth, and truth doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't perform. It simply is. And when you finally allow yourself to be, even if that means being alone, you tap into something the world can't touch, your essence. And that essence is not lonely. It is whole. Beyond the noise, how silence reveals the divine within you in the stillness of solitude, something sacred begins to awaken. Not the ego, not the mind, not even the personality, but the essence of who and what you are beneath all of that. Most people are terrified of silence because they've spent their entire lives running from it. We fill every waking moment with sound, with movement, with distraction. We scroll, swipe, binge, talk, repeat, just to avoid meeting ourselves in the quiet. But the spiritually awake know something that most don't. Truth doesn't scream. It whispers. It lives in the gaps between the noise, in the breath you never noticed, in the stillness between thoughts. And the only way to hear it is to stop running, to be still, to be alone, not as an escape, but as a return to the part of you that has never been touched by chaos or time. When you sit in silence long enough, you start to feel something ancient rising within you. A kind of watching presence, a witness, that part of you that doesn't change, even as your circumstances, emotions and thoughts shift like clouds in the sky. In Eastern traditions, this is called the self with a capital S. Alan Watts often described it as the eternal observer, the part of you that is not separate from the universe, but is the universe becoming aware of itself. And when you meet this part of yourself, you realize something extraordinary. You are not broken. You are not lacking. You were simply identified with the wrong part of yourself all along. You thought you were the mask, the role, the voice in your head. But all of that comes and goes. The real you remains. This realization doesn't always bring immediate peace. In fact, it often brings upheaval. Because once you realize your true nature, everything that isn't aligned with it begins to fall away. Old habits, old relationships, even old dreams can start to dissolve. And that's painful. Let's not pretend it's not. Awakening is not a gentle unfolding, it's a disintegration. A death of who you thought you were. But in that death, there is rebirth. A rebirth into something far more authentic, far more powerful, far more you. And in that new space, solitude becomes less about being without others and more about being with yourself fully, honestly, without distraction. You begin to understand why the spiritually awake don't chase crowds. They found something deeper than validation. They found the divine within. But what is the divine, really? It's not a being in the sky or a doctrine in a book. It's not something separate from you. It's not something you earn through good behavior or religious rituals. The divine is the still, silent awareness that watches your entire life unfold. It's the intelligence that breathes you without effort. It's the mystery behind your eyes, the one that no mirror can reflect. And once you've touched it, even for a moment, everything changes. You begin to see that the world is not made of separate things, but of interconnected expressions of one vast, living intelligence. You begin to feel a sacredness in everything, in silence, in suffering, in joy, in solitude. And this is the real reason the awakened often stay alone, not because they're avoiding the world, but because they see the world differently. They don't need noise to feel alive. They don't need drama to feel excitement. They don't need a crowd to feel connection. In fact, the more awake you become, the more sensitive you become. Not fragile sensitive. You start to feel the energies behind words, the intentions behind actions. You notice the subtle manipulations in conversations. You feel the weight of inauthenticity like static on your skin. And so you begin to choose your environments with great care. Not out of judgment, but out of self-respect. Not out of superiority, but out of clarity. You begin to realize that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's sacred, because your peace is where your deepest truth lies. And if that means spending more time alone, then so be it. You'd rather sit alone in silence than be surrounded by noise that drowns out your soul. That's not isolation, that's devotion. And yet, let's be honest, there's still a longing in all of us. A longing to be met, to be seen, to be held, not by someone who needs us to be something, but by someone who sees us as we are. And this longing doesn't disappear after awakening, but it transforms. It becomes less desperate, less needy. It becomes a quiet invitation, not a hungry demand. And occasionally, when two awake souls meet, something rare and beautiful happens. There's no need to impress, to perform, to protect. There is only presence. And in that presence, a deeper connection is born, one that has nothing to do with the personality and everything to do with being. But until then, the spiritually awake are willing to wait, to walk alone. Not out of bitterness, but out of reverence for what is real. So here's the final question I'll leave you with. Can you be so deeply rooted in yourself that even if no one ever truly understands you, you still choose to live your truth anyway? Can you walk alone without becoming bitter? Can you hold space for your own soul without needing someone else to fill it? Because the truth is, awakening isn't about becoming special. It's about becoming real. And realness is rare. It's raw. It's quiet. It doesn't seek attention, it simply is. So if you're walking this path and it feels lonely, know this. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're just one of the few who have chosen to wake up in a world that would rather stay asleep. And in that choice, you're not alone. You're walking with the universe. You always have been